Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night at the local time. According to information we have, several defense lines with the lengths of about 1000 kilometers have been created around Kiev. The first line of Kiev is located quite far from the capital, reliable system for the fire destruction of the enemy, engineering barriers of all types, air and anti-tank defense, and comprehensive support have been built. Furthermore, we got additional information that Ukrainians started creation of the fortification around Kharkiv. The Ukraine armed forces are preparing the city for defense. Long-term firing points, pillboxes are being erected on the roads. So as you can see, the Ukrainians are planning to create two defense belts, let's say one big, huge defense belt between Kharkiv and Kiev. And as we can see, the Ukrainians are not building the defense belt somewhere in Chernihiv and Sumy area. So due to this fact, we can make a conclusion that Ukrainians do have some understanding and some, let's say, plans of Russian armed forces for further offensive operation in the northern part of, let's say, Ukraine, and to establish control over Chernihiv and Kharkiv. Because if the Ukrainians, and let's say, knew for sure that the Russians are not able to bypass Chernihiv, they would start creation of the fortification there as well. Interesting details are coming from, let's say, Czech Republic. According to the authorities, no one in Europe is going to send their troops to Ukraine, Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala during the speech in Parliament. So, a few days ago, France reported about the sending forces to Ukraine, and later we got almost every single leader of every single Western country refused and denied any, let's say, attempts or any idea or any further plans to do that. Furthermore, we got the same confirmation from the United States of America, but when talking about the United States of America, today we got some updates from Lloyd Austin. The defeat of Ukraine would threaten a direct military clash between Russia and NATO. That was the words of the chief of Pentagon. The Russians have immediately responded to this, let's say, to these words, and the Russians are saying that NATO can expect the fate of Ukraine if they continue their aggressive policy. The head of the State Duma Military Committee, Kartapolov, in response to the word of Lloyd Austin. So, you know that this is a very important statement, because in the previous days, in the previous times, the Russians couldn't dare to, let's say, report and to say like that to the Western countries, to NATO, the United States of America. NATO can expect the fate of Ukraine, and this is a very strong words, and obviously the Russians have some base to talk like that. Furthermore, we got a report from France, and today the Minister of France reported that they're not going to send forces to Ukraine. And you know that this story with the France forces in Ukraine, let's say, have a very depth roots. I'll try to explain to you. If you remember, in December 2023 and in January of 2024, we got significant number of updates of how the Russians were bombing and attacking the Ukrainian positions inside of the Kharkiv, and as a result of those strikes, significant number of France soldiers died and were killed. And we remember that there was few cases that the Russians destroyed Ukrainian positions with the France soldiers. Then there was something body exchange process, and after that the Russians made another strike when another group of French officers arrived to take the bodies of the previous group. So significant losses, and according to France constitution, according to information we have, there are no France forces on the ground in Ukraine, but there are a lot of, let's say, dead citizens, soldiers of France, according to the Russians. So that's why, as I understand, France is going to fix the legal issue of this situation, because, as I understand, there are a lot of, let's say, officers from, let's say, Ukrainian France army were involved in that situation. So that's why they just want to fix the legal issues, like, let's say, adopt some possibilities to send forces, troops to France, and then to take them back as already killed as a result of Russian fire, or something like this. Now we are moving to the situation in the ground, and we're going to start from the Krasnohorivka direction. According to information we have, the Russians launched another artillery preparation, and today the Russians are going to launch the second attempt of assault of the southern part of the stronghold. If you remember, during the previous days, the Russians have already conducted an offensive operation and managed to establish the foothold in this area. Later, the Ukrainian forces of the 3rd Azov Brigade counterattacked, and according to some sources managed to restore positions in this area, but we haven't adjusted the map because we haven't received any geolocated confirmations. And today we see more updates about further Russian plans. So if the Russians manage to establish the foothold, obviously today they sent additional reinforcements to develop the foothold further to the west and to completely force the Ukrainians to fall back from this side of the railways. Now we're moving further to Nivoyska. Different mappers confirmed the information about additional Russian progress as close as possible to Nivoyska itself. Syria confirmed this information, so the Russians are getting closer, and they're like on the distance of the short, let's say, short gun of light gun rifles of fire and clashes, so we'll see. Now we're moving to Orlovka direction. The sources continue reporting about additional Russian progress. Another different mappers continue confirming the control over Orlovka, Berdichi and Tonenka. Currently the Ukrainians try to concentrate their forces, temporary positions, temporary concentration of forces in the vicinity of Semyonovka, and then from Semyonovka the Ukrainians are planning, and they're really planning to fall back further to the northern part in direction of Novoselovka Persha, and using the southern road in direction of Yasnobrodovka and further probably to Karlovka water reservoir. So the Ukrainians are planning to withdraw their positions, to retreat further to the west, and now they try to do this like smart, step by step, without, let's say, getting in some risk positions. The Russian sources published the video of how they entered Orlovka itself, because during the previous days we were receiving just video updates, some picture of let's say Russian flag inside of Orlovka, not Russian flag, but it's a picture of let's say sign of some library. And today on the 1st of March we received the first video geolocations confirming the Russian entering the eastern part of the village. Now we are moving further to Bakhmut-Ivanivske direction, Bakhmut-Artyomovsk-Ivanovsk direction. Today we continue receiving significant updates and details, and the most of them are coming from Ivanovska. Different mappers have already updated their map showing additional Russian progress. If you remember, yesterday the sources reported about complete control over the village, but by the morning of the 1st of March those updates haven't been confirmed by any sources, but different mappers confirms additional progress. The Ukrainians tried to counterattack. Most of the attacks were repelled by the Russians, and according to understanding, currently the Russians control and the main line of combat contact goes along Tereshkova Street. This is the Tereshkova Street that basically split Ivanovska into two parts. So this approximately the progress of armed force of Russian Federation by the morning of 1st of March. Yet we haven't received any geolocate confirmation of such a progress. We have some confirmations from the southeastern part, some progress on the forests into the north, but no updates from inside of the village. And once again, I'll remind you that the main Russian problem is this one, this area, this defense belt, this hill that Ukrainians use to control the entire situation in the village. And until the Ukrainians control the area, it is going to be very difficult for the Russians to complete the clearing operation of Ivanivske itself. Chasov Yar, the Russian sources, published the video of how they managed to discover and to destroy another convoy of Ukrainian armored vehicles. That was the special forces, Ukrainian special forces that arrived in Chasov Yar with the purpose probably to conduct some counteroffensive or some special operation, let's say to destroy some Russian bases of FPV drones, or maybe to destroy some Russian artillery forces or something like that. But the Ukrainian special group was discovered by Russian drone, by the Russian reconnaissance drone, and after the Russians discovered Ukrainian positions, they started bombing and attacking them. As you can see, first of all, the Ukrainians discovered their own base, and the base was destroyed. As you can see, according to the video, most of the Ukrainians managed to survive. They just basically left the base towards some, let's say, more or less reliable and secure area. And after that, the Russians continue bombing the base of special forces and destroyed that building completely. We haven't received any updates about further Russian progress towards Chasov Yar. The same story about Siversk direction, no updates. The same story about southern Kupiansk and northern Kupiansk direction, no updates. And let's discuss a little bit the battle for Robotina. Today the Russian sources published additional video of Toslan Tower strikes on the southern part of the village, and Currently, as you can see, we have adjusted the map. Now we show the territory above Robotyne as a gray zone because for now it's very difficult to understand what is happening there. During the previous attacks, the Russians managed to establish control of the half of the village, but after that, the Russians start publishing the videos of total tower strikes on the southern part. So for now, we are going to keep this area as a gray zone until we get more details and some clarification about the situation in the area. And that's it for today for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.